I'm Miriam Joy and welcome to my studio. Today we're going to talk about dyeing pine needles. And there are some wonderful already pre-dyed pine needles out there, and these come from like Georgia and Florida, and they're really long and they're wonderful. And I'll also put up a supplier's name where you can pre-order some pine needles already done. And if you get that chance or that's what you're looking for, it's almost as easy and cost effective to go ahead and order those from a person. Now I wanted shorter pine needles for some projects that I'm working for, so I'm going to go ahead and do my own, and we're going to talk about how I did them. First, I went and I collected my pine needles, and you want to pick them up usually in the fall when the new ones are kind of falling off their trees, but they're a little bit sun-dyed and they're kind of brown. And you don't want to get the old ones, and you can tell the difference when you're harvesting them, or if you found a fallen tree that's kind of easier, or a branch that you can just kind of pick them off of, but make sure that they're already that color and they're nice and dry. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of dish soap and just put it in the water and clean them out. Just get them nice and clean, and then go ahead and rinse that out. And when I did this, I got a couple of little containers because I used them quite a bit, and I just picked them up at the Dollar Tree. And you're not going to work with maybe twice that much, but not much more than that at a time. And once you've rinsed them, then go ahead and soak them, and soak them at least 30 to 45 minutes, and that helps them take the dye better. And while that's going on, you can go ahead and start getting your dye ready. And the best thing to use is a roasting pan because it lays down, your needles lay in it. I tried to do a pot and it just didn't work. So if you find one at the thrift store or a yard sale, or just an old roasting pan, that really works well. And I went out and I picked up different colors, and I didn't have all the colors that I wanted to do in different things, so I picked them up in different products. I've got some Ritz dye, and I've also got some fabric dye, and both of these I found at Walmart. I found these not in the craft section, but with the bleach in the household section. And the fabric dyes I did find in the craft section, so there was a bunch of different dyes. But also don't be afraid to use like some of your other dyes, like your leather dyes and different things like that, or a combination of the two, which is kind of what I did on some of mine. So when you put your water in, and you don't want to use more than a gallon of water, and I started out with just a little bit of water, and I warmed it up, got it boiling, and then I added my dye and dissolved it, and then I added 1/4 cup of salt, and this is to help set your dye in. So you want to add the salt and dissolve that. And then once my leaves were done soaking for that time period, I put them in to my roasting pan, and I only covered enough water to cover over the top of my needles. And if you need to put something to hold them down, you can do that. But then I really liked my prongs, and I moved them around so that they could dye evenly. If you don't move them around, they won't dye evenly. You'll have some that are more dyed, and in the middle they won't get dyed as well. So it's real important to move them around with your prongs. And then once you get the water level where you want it, you're going to, once it starts boiling, we're going to turn it on simmer. And you're going to simmer it as long or as dark as you want the colors. Now, I did my purple ones, and I did them with my fabric dye, and I wasn't getting quite as dark as purple as I wanted. So what I did is I came in and I added a little bit of leather dye to that as well. Not doing just leather dye so they won't just fade. So, and that really brightened those up. So don't be afraid to try different things like that. They will look darker in your pan. I'm going to show you a batch that I've got See how dark the inside is not dry yet. So they're going to look a different color. And once you start letting them dry, they're going to start to lighten up. So know that they do change colors. Kind of everything does when it starts to dry. So when you've decided we've darkened these up as dark as you want them, we're going to take our tongs and we're going to pull them out, and I'm going to put them into another container of water. And this water, I have put 1 cup of white vinegar in it. And that is to go ahead and finish setting our color and holding our color. So we're going to simply move them from here now to our vinegar water. And we're going to let those soak for at least 30 to 45 minutes again. And then once that is done, you can take them and put them in your sink, or you can continue just to run water in there until all of the color is gone. Now, be a little bit careful if you want to dye more than that. If you've used up your color, your next batch could be way lighter. So one good rule of thumb they always say is 1 gallon of water. But if you've used it a couple of times, each one is going to start to get lighter and lighter. So you may want to start your color from fresh, kind of depending on how bright or how light you want it. If you wanted a lighter color, then go ahead and do the next batch. Nice thing is you can always do it and then decide that's not dark enough, and then go ahead and re-add some more and get it darker. And then I put mine onto a tray and kind of spread them all apart. And you can hit them with a fan, or you can set them outside if the wind's not blowing, and just let those continue to dry. And once they're dry really, really well, then go ahead and rubber band those. And while they're drying, you want to keep them as straight as possible, because you don't want any curves or anything in them. So these I need to straighten out just a little bit better. You don't want them curved. We'll get those as straight as we can. But that is kind of a rundown, and I can't really take you into the kitchen because it's a continuous mess going on in there. And if you're going to do them, get them all done at one time. That's a nice thing about them. Make sure that they're all done, and then you can clean up your mess and be done with that. So thank you for joining me today. If you have any more questions about dyeing the pine needles, please email me at art@miriamjoy.com. Come on over and see what other YouTubes we're posting up for you. Thank you, and God bless.